Welcome to the City Club of Cleveland, America's citadel of free speech for 98 years. My name is Jim Foster. I'm director of the City Club, and pleased to welcome you to this program today and invite you to attend all of our regular Friday forums and special programs. The City Club reflects what is happening in the wider community, and very certainly, most people are wondering what is happening with the economy. Are we really on the road to solid recovery, or will another crisis, commercial real estate, the Greek budget deficit, or continuing tensions in the Middle East, or some other unknown world crisis turn things into another downward spiral? A month ago, we were most fortunate to hear from the chief of the President's economic advisors, Christina Romer, and she presented a fairly optimistic projection. Today, with a special panel of economists who have been brought together by the University of Chicago, we will take a look at the economic climate today and what it means for our country and the world in the next decade. That's a pretty all-encompassing topic. We're delighted to have as our moderator for today's program the distinguished professor of economics from Kent State University, Dr. Charles Upton. Dr. Upton completed his undergraduate degree at Rice University and his PhD at Carnegie Mellon. He has held faculty positions at the University of Chicago and Rutgers University prior to Kent State University. Dr. Upton will introduce our panelists and conduct our program. Dr. Upton?
Thank you. Let's start with Ken Mayland. Ken is president of Clearview Economics, an economics forecasting consulting firm, previously chief economist for a couple of Ohio financial institutions, studied at MIT and University of Pennsylvania, got his PhD from Pennsylvania. He's the one who's actually appeared up here before, and his forecasts in the past have won numerous awards for accuracy, so we're delighted to have, even though he does not have a Chicago connection, we're delighted to have him here.
Thank you, Charles.
I was going to let you speak, and then...
Oh,
yes, speak.
I'm on.
You're on. Okay.
Well, very good. Thank you for that. You know, there's a great deal of angst and disappointment about the economy, but perhaps even a bit of an irony is that this recovery is coming up on just about its first birthday. The National Bureau of Economic Research has not made its official declaration, but we can follow the same indicators that they follow, and if you do some arithmetic and average them, collapse them to a single indicator, that line is now growing, has been growing for the last year. So we're just about a year into the recovery. The recovery is coming about from pretty standard cyclical forces. We're seeing good growth in capital spending for equipment. We're seeing good growth in our exports. We've seen an improvement in consumer confidence, and with that, some increases, moderate increases in consumer spending, and so that makes up the bulk of the economy. If anything is dragging, it's dragging in the area of housing because there's such a overhang of foreclosures containing the normal rebound of housing, and then on top of that, non-residential investment is holding back. But you put all that together, and we're seeing a moderate recovery. If there's the major sources of that disappointment so far is that we haven't really produced many new jobs. But here too, this economy has crossed the threshold from job declines now to job increases. And I think as the rest of this year unfolds, we're going to see some more satisfying increases in non-farm payrolls, and so hopefully by the end of the year people will feel better. If there is any risks that I see, it's not on the cyclical aspects of the economy. I see the risks for this economy being on the political economy side of things. We've, in order to kickstart this recovery, we did not just engage in deficit spending, but massive deficit spending on a level that is truly unprecedented. In terms of the monetary policy, we've injected into the banking system an enormous amount of liquidity, again, on a level not previously seen. And just in terms of the social agenda, we put into place a universal health insurance and universal health access program that will unfold over years, but which I think will create a lot of anxiety on the part of, in particular, business. So the main risk that I see to the economy comes from the political economy side of things, not the cyclical side of things.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Jim Meil is chief economist at Eaton Corporation. He too has been recognized numerous times for his forecast accuracy. He received a BA and an MBA from the University of Chicago, and I can personally certify that he was well trained, which is shorthand for being one of my students.
Thank you, Charles. That is correct. I'm going to talk about 5 things quickly and shallowly. First of all, there is indeed a recovery in place. And I guess I'd have to attribute it, number one, to complicated systems do tend to equilibrium, so there's a plus there. I salute the Federal Reserve. Some representatives are here in the audience. They've done a fine job, or at least as fine as possibly could be imagined, running monetary policy in the last 2.5 to 3 years. Politicians, not so. I'm skeptical about the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. I'm inclined to say politicians will have to take credit that they don't really deserve, and certainly distortive programs like scrappage incentives, home buying, appliance buying incentives. Goodness gracious. Anyway, on to why is this time different? This time is different because there is an immediate threat to the recovery and long-term threat, which is the grease spot on the floor. I recall the words of the 1970s American poet Gene Simmons, "I want to rock and roll all night and party every day." The Greeks rock and rolled all night and partied every day, running up significant debt and deficits, and that, in my way of thinking, is the canary in a coal mine, because we too are headed for deficits that are forecasted to be sustained at 5% of GDP into the indefinite future. In 10 years' time, CBO estimates that if we execute the president's budget, we'll see debt at 100% of GDP, bad numbers. China, India, Brazil, people ask, is that sustainable? My simple-minded answer is they are growing, and they're growing for the reasons that the U.S. grew 100 years ago. Population migration from rural areas or migration patterns in combination with productivity and advancing up the learning curve, which China, India, and Brazil can do for quite some period into the future because they learn lessons, and lessons that are easier to learn than ever before because the costs are so low in terms of the migration to leading-edge technologies. The U.S. manufacturing sector, I work for a manufacturing company, Eaton Corporation, and the keys to manufacturing success are trying to figure out what you're good at and then executing. Also making those terrible decisions about the businesses that you have to cast aside. It is hard to do. It takes tremendous courage. And my recommendation in terms of success for the manufacturing sector and for success in this region is to analyze what we're good at, execute, and have the courage to let those businesses and activities that are in the rearview mirror fade, throw them overboard, under the bus. Just in terms of a wrap-up, real quick, I'm actually getting to the end of my career, and over the course of 35 years, I'd say the salient difference between now and the mid-'70s when I started is the internationalization of business. Internationalization in terms of capital and ownership, internationalization in terms of the employees and management that work for my company, peer companies, and even small businesses.